Welcome back to school, everybody. The first item on our agenda is the call to order. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call. So Pledge of Allegiance, will everybody please stand and say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we have roll call.
Jose Gutierrez Jr.
Ellen Wheeler.
Tamara Wilson.
Greg Coladonato.
And Laura Blakely. The next item is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Give it to Dr. Jose.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and a motion made by trustee Wheeler and seconded by trustee Gutierrez. The agenda is approved unanimously. Now's the opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning items on the closed session agenda. Seeing none, at 6:02, we will move to closed session.
This bag is just all the way around.
Oh, it's just right where the corner was.
Right And then he left and
Did you see there was a huge accident on Middlefield and Fairwell today? They closed my side of the street off.
Oh.
Right as the kids were biking back.
Huh.
Like some of the moms were
Any idea
really,
what happened?
really freaking out. No.
Okay.
Message.
Hello.
Hello.
wow.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, it's 6:56. We are returning to open session after closed session. And I'd like to report on some items during closed session. Item A was pending litigation. A settlement agreement in OAH case number 2018-050068 approved. The settlement requires reimbursement to student totaling $33,750 and fully resolves students' claims for 3 full years. Settlement agreement in OAH case number 2018-020908 approved. The settlement requires reimbursements, services, funding to student totaling approximately $21,158 and fully resolves students' claims more than 2 full school years. The board has taken action to approve its portion of a tentative settlement between the district and plaintiffs, subject to obtaining a signed settlement agreement from plaintiffs. And no further action was taken during closed session. So let's see. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The following items will be handled with one action. However, any item may be removed from consideration by individual board members or the superintendent. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and a motion made by trustee Wheeler and seconded by trustee Wilson. The consent agenda was unanimously approved. The next item on the agenda is communications. Are there any members of employee organizations here to speak before us this evening? District committees, are there any members of district committees that would like to make a report this evening? Superintendent Rudolph, who is in the East Coast dropping off his daughters at college, do you have any reports for us?
Welcome back, everybody. No reports.
Okay.
Where's the volume control for that thing?
Okay, yeah, and welcome back, everybody. I'm sure we all echo that sentiment. We're hoping everybody has a great 18-19 school year. The next item on the agenda is community comments. This is the time reserved for community members to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board and administration welcome this opportunity to listen. However, in compliance with the Brown Act, the board is not permitted to take action on non-agenda items. Speakers are requested to complete a speaker card and state their name for the record. And if there are additional comments after 10 minutes have elapsed, this item may be continued after all the action and discussion items are completed. And I have 2 members of the public here who have submitted cards, and you each have 3 minutes. The first is Tamara Becker Patterson and Dr. David Patterson. Looks like you've got help. Oh, there's one more, but go ahead. 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Becker Patterson, and I have been a Mountain View resident for over 10 years. I've got 3 kids. This is Muddy Soul. And just wanted to let you know, if you haven't, if it wasn't clear, I'm actually a candidate for school board. And I just really wanted to say thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me be here. And I'm really excited. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Dave Patterson. I'm a recently retired educator. In other words, I'm starting to take my PERS pension, but really I have a new job. It's being grandparent. So most recently I spent several years at the Alameda County Office of Education, where I was the director of the CARSNet program, which was a statewide program supporting charter school authorizers, school districts and counties. I also sit on the Placer County Board of Education. I just want to I wanted to say hello because, yeah, I've gone to a few school board meetings. Yeah, I go to a few now. But myself and my wife, who is also at the end of last year retired as a high school math teacher, we've got a lot of reasons to be in Mountain View. We enjoy being here. Our son Matthew and his wife Tamara, and now their 3 children, with the first one reaching school age pretty soon. We're all going to be here. We're all going to be a part of the community, and we're looking forward to doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. And there was one more card submitted by Joe Brennan.
Good evening. My name is Joe Brennan.
Can
I'm
you
a resident of
Raise
Mount-
the microphone so we can hear you better. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank
Is that better?
you. Much
Yes.
better.
Okay. My name is Joe Brennan. I'm a resident of Mountain View and a parent of school-aged children. So I am commenting on the decision by the board in their last meeting to name the new school after Jose Antonio Vargas. The board made a serious mistake, and I strongly urge the board to reconsider its decision and select a new name for the school. In the materials discussing the new name for the school, the board described Vargas as a former Mountain View Wisman School District student and a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. However, this is not the complete picture of Vargas. He is an illegal alien who, by his own admission, has violated federal and state laws. He made these admissions in a 2011 article in the New York Times, which I have a copy here. In the article, he described how he checked the citizenship box on his federal I-9 employment eligibility forms. Falsely representing oneself as a citizen is a federal crime. More specifically, 18 U.S.C. 1911 states that whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both. Vargas violated the statute likely by checking the citizen box on his I-9 forms. He admits to doing this multiple times. In doing so, Vargas has likely made himself permanently ineligible for legal admission to the United States. This is because federal law bars an alien from admission who has falsely represented himself to be a citizen of the United States for any purpose or benefit. In fact, the statute says, and I quote, "Any alien who falsely represents or has falsely represented himself or herself to be a citizen of the United States for any purpose or benefit under this chapter or any federal or state law is inadmissible." So Vargas can likely never be admitted to the United States. To those who say it's not his fault, he was brought here as a children, in this article, he describes how he was given legal advice to return to the Philippines and then reapply for entry after 10 years, advice that he did not follow. So he could have corrected his action and then by now have been admitted legally to the United States, but he did not choose to do so. To sum up, Vargas is an illegal alien who has violated federal law and can never be legally admitted to the United States. When the law catches up to him, as it will, because it eventually does to everyone, he will likely be deported and from the United States. So in naming the school after this person, the board has made the school district and the city of Mountain View look ridiculous. After Vargas is deported, the board will be looked at with even greater scorn and derision. So the board has the opportunity to avoid this future and regain respectability if it so wishes. All the board need to
Thank
do
you for your comments.
is overturn its previous vote to name the school after Vargas.
Thank
I
you.
sincerely urge the board to follow this course of action. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is review and action. The North Bay Shore Master Planning Services Agreement with Artique Art and Architecture.
Good evening.
Dr.
Thank you. So the North Bay Shore area of Mountain View is planned to undergo a significant change with the development of more than 9,000 homes north of 101. And to that, we estimate somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 students will be coming to Mountain View. So at this time, the district would like to undergo the process of master planning for facilities for this potential schools that are north of 101. So the district put out an RFP, a request for qualifications and a request for proposals from architectural firms to do that work for us, to do the master planning work through scoring with the committee. Artique was selected as the architectural firm, and staff is recommending to award the contract to Artique for the master facilities planning, for the North Bay Shore area.
Thank you. Trustees, did you have any clarifying questions before I open it up for comment? Any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Trustees, do you have any comments or questions for Dr. Clark? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the contract?
I'll make the motion that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with Artique Art and Architecture for North Bayshore Master Planning Services in the amount of $396,000.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, on a motion made by Trustee Wheeler and seconded by Trustee Gutierrez, the North Bayshore Master Planning Services Agreement with Artique Art and Architecture was approved. Thank you, trustees. The next item is the ratification of the summer 2018 construction contracts. Dr.
Yes,
Clark.
thank you. At the May 31st board meeting, the board approved resolution 1674.5/18, awarding authority for summer construction contracts to the superintendent or chief business officer for the period of June 1st to August 23rd, with the agreement and the understanding that we would come back at the August 23rd board meeting for all of those contracts for review and ratification. One of the reasons for that purpose was to not slow down or to delay construction that may need to occur over the summer. Over the summer, we had 2 such contracts and also pricing for the Mistral project. So you see on the board cover page, Stevenson Temporary Housing Removal Project with Galeb Paving in the amount of $287,000 approximately. And then also the District Office Abatement and Demolition Project with Premier Builders in the amount of $258,000. District office is gone, by the way, if you noticed. And then also we got Mistral pricing for phase 4 that happened after the June 1st board meeting for BHM pricing, and that finishes for phase 4 work, which is approximately $5.5 million for the phase 4 work for Mistral. So we're bringing back those contracts to the board.
Thank you. Trustees, if you don't have any clarifying questions, I will open it up to comment from members of the public. Any clarifying questions? Members of the public wishing to comment on these contracts?
So I have a comment, and I wanted to make it before. People reading the agenda see that we have a series of 3-minute items, and what I would like to make sure everyone understands, one is that all of the board members read the backup materials that you sent to us, and I also want to say I appreciate the thoroughness of the backup materials that you sent to us. So I'd like to make a motion, all right, that the Board of Trustees ratify the 2 contracts and the pricing for this summer construction projects. Stevenson Elementary School Temporary Housing Removal Project with Galeb Paving, the District Office Abatement and Demolition Project with Premier Builders, and the guaranteed maximum price for the Mistral Phase 4 Increment 2 Administration Building and Kindergarten Project with BHM Construction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, on a motion made by Trustee Wheeler and seconded by Trustee Coladonato, the ratification of the summer 2018 construction contracts were unanimously approved. The next item on the agenda is Board Bylaw number 9310, Board Policies.
Yep, correct. Staff is asking
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
to
Sorry.
adopt an updated version of Board Bylaw 9310, which basically states a new addition is that the board will not adopt any policy that contradicts state or federal law.
And I went out of order, so I beg
You've
your,
seen it.
well, shall we do this one and then go back to the one that I just skipped? Let's go back, okay. Thank you. So I apologize, I jumped the gun here and I overlooked, inadvertently skipped past the declaration of need for fully qualified educators. So. Ms.
Good evening,
Geisel.
Board. Every year, our district must submit a declaration of need of fully qualified teachers. What this basically means is it's kind of a permission slip for the state of California. We do everything in our power to hire qualified teachers, but there may have been circumstances when we don't have enough teachers for the positions. So the declaration of need allows a district to be able to hire teachers that are in internship programs that are reaching and moving forward towards their credentials. So this is a process that we are required to do by the state every single year. So we are recommending that the board approve our declaration need for fully qualified educators at this time.
Thank you. Were there any clarifying questions, trustees? Members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Any other questions or comments, trustees? And if not, will somebody make a motion to approve?
I'll move that the board approve our declaration of need for fully qualified educators as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Can a motion made by trustee Gutierrez and seconded by trustee Coladonato? The motion to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators was unanimously approved. Okay, now back to board bylaw number 9310. And Dr. Rudolph, sorry that I got out of order.
No worries, no worries. So board bylaw 9310 is an update to the board policy. And it's basically stating that it is requiring the board to make sure they do not adopt a policy that is in conflict with either state or federal law. That's the only addition to this law, to this board policy.
Okay. Did the trustees have any clarifying questions about this bylaw?
I'm too deaf.
Were there any members of the public wishing to comment on this bylaw? Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, can I have a motion to adopt the bylaw?
I move to approve board bylaw number 9310, board policies.
Second, and I would like to note that there's language on here that this is at first reading, so it would not come back. That's what that language represents. It would not come back for a second reading, which is our norm.
Yes, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on a motion made by trustee Wilson and seconded by trustee Wheeler, the approval of board bylaw number 9310 at board policies at first reading was unanimously approved. Okay, now the next item on the agenda is board policy number 3516, emergencies and disaster preparedness plan.
All right, sorry. I understand I'm pretty loud. So and this board policy update is requiring districts to work with a wide group of constituents in order to make sure that we plan appropriately for the emergency preparedness group. Basically, the new change requires us to make sure that we include law officials as well as community organizations in our planning process.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions? Members of the public wishing to comment on this board policy? If you have any questions or comments, please make them. If not, may I have a motion?
I just have a comment. It looks like we added language to this to provide training to employees regarding their responsibilities. So that sounds like a new provision of this policy. Are there new funds associated with adding that line?
We already provide training to staff, and as part of our updated safety plan that came out of the safety summit that we had, we're going to do additional training, but we do an emergency preparedness drill, including dealing with injuries and earthquakes, and as well as fire drills, police, and active shooters. So we do that training already. So even though that provision has been put in, we were already ahead of the curve. But we will be adding additional training, especially at the middle schools, based off of the data that we got.
Okay, thank you. And I know the board is aware that most of these policy recommendations come from the CSBA, and so they may already match what we are already doing, but it just makes the policy conform.
Mhm.
May I have a motion to approve the policy?
I move to
Reverse-
approve board policy number 3516, emergencies and disaster preparedness plan
Second. Greg.
At first
Greg's got it.
Okay.
at first reading.
As
Thank you.
presented.
Oh my goodness.
All in favor?
Aye. Hey,
Okay,
man, they ingrain that Robert's Rules of Order in your head and it stays there.
On a motion made by trustee Wilson and seconded by trustee Coladonato, the policy, I've lost my place here, for board policy number 3516, emergencies and disaster preparedness is unanimously approved at first reading. Okay, the next item is board policy 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement. Okay.
So is he watching the
Yes.
meeting? Okay.
Mhm.
Is he calling in from a cell phone? Yes.
Yeah.
Cell phones have a microphone control for volume. Okay. He's listening. Just a recommendation.
No, I just texted him. That's what I was doing. So we're good. And I told him that we adjusted, with courtesy of your help, the volume, so he's fine.
He can still hear us. It's all good.
Okay, well, the policy was in our package, and I know that we all read it. Did anybody have any clarifying questions? Any members of the public wishing to comment on this? If there were any other questions or comments, trustees, will you please make them? And if not, may I have a motion to approve?
I move that the board approve board policy number 5145.13, students at first reading. That's what this says.
Response
Re-
to immigration enforcement.
Mhm.
That's what the action
it says.
says.
As presented.
As presented, that's correct.
Mhm.
Does anyone want a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and a motion made by trustee Wheeler and seconded by trustee Coladonato. Board policy number 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement, was unanimously approved at first reading as presented.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is board policy number 4119.21/4129.21, 4319.21 regarding professional standards. Again, this policy was in our materials, so I know that the trustees all read it. Did anybody have any clarifying questions? Any members of the public wishing to comment on these policies? Oh, Carmen, did you want to make a comment? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that this is a new policy, and the previous one is a new policy that the board adopt in the first reading. And this policy, the professional standards, is recommended as guiding principles by CSBA. So this is new to our district. So
Thank you.
I move that the board adopt board policy number 4119.21/4219.21/4319.21 at first reading as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on a motion made by trustee Gutierrez and seconded by trustee Coladonato, the board unanimously adopted board policy number 4119.21, 4219.21, and 4319.21 unanimously at first reading as presented. All right. Thank you, trustees. Okay, the next item on the agenda is board policy number 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment.
So the California School Boards Association has recommended an update to reflect the changes. And basically, the addition in this policy is that the superintendent or designee would regularly review the implementation of our non-discrimination policies and limit or remove any barriers, and then provide an update to the board regarding those reviews and research. And that is the one difference about this policy.
Okay, and I noticed that there is no action required in the recommended action section. Is that correct? Okay.
It's a time.
Okay, so would we be able to do it at first reading if that was not included here? Or, but not if we approve it at first reading, right? Or- because it's a new policy. Okay. Thank you for clarifying the process. Did anybody have any clarifying questions? Members of the public wishing to comment? Any further questions or comments, trustees? If not, may I have a motion to approve this policy at first reading?
I move that board policy number 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment, has been updated to reflect those recommendations as presented to us at first reading, and will come back for further approval at next meeting or next reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on a motion made by trustee Gutierrez and seconded by trustee Wheeler, board policy number 5145.3 regarding non-discrimination harassment was unanimously approved at first reading. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the grant of easement to the city of Mountain View for the Permanente Creekside Trail at Crittenden Middle School. Dr. Clark.
Thank you. Tonight, we're asking the board to approve the grant of easement to the city of Mountain View for the Permanente Creekside Trail at Crittenden Middle School. Tonight's action completes the process for the conveyance of the easement to the city of Mountain View, where we allow the city to pay for the construction of the Permanente Creekside Trail on the Crittenden campus. And the trail's complete and open. This will be the last step in the conveyance of the easement. And then the final step, we'll send the bill to the city to reimburse us for the expense.
Thank you. No clarifying questions? Any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Trustees, any comments? This is where the bike trail is, right? Where
Correct.
there was the kickoff. So
Yes.
I think it's beautiful and I'm glad it's there. I will just make that comment. It was nice to be at the dedication earlier in the summer. Several of us were there.
How soon will we get the check?
That would be a question for the city.
Okay.
But it should be about us proving what we paid and what they owe us.
All right.
This reimbursement, straight reimbursement.
Should be pretty quick.
So do I have a motion to approve the easement?
I move to approve the grant of easement to the city of Mountain View for the Permanente Creekside Trail at Crittenden Middle School.
Second.
I think I got it.
You got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and a motion made by trustee Wilson and seconded by trustee Coladonato. The motion to approve the grant of easement to the city for the Permanente Creekside Trail at Crittenden Middle School was unanimously approved. Okay, the next item is the contract with Sage Renewables for solar program consulting services.
Thank you. At the June 14th board meeting, board gave direction to continue with the concept of a solar solution in the school district. We have contracted with Sage Renewables, pending the board's action tonight, to provide services for us as a consultant, as an independent contractor. And part of their responsibility will be to help go through, help create the RFP, the correct request for proposal from outside vendors as construction, and then also help the selection of the vendor, review construction documents, and then provide support during the actual construction project itself.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions, trustees? Members of the public wishing to comment on this item? If there's no further questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the contract with Sage Renewables in the amount of $133,200 for solar program consulting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and a motion made by trustee Gutierrez and seconded by trustee Wheeler. The motion to approve the contract with Sage Renewables was unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, and then the last item in our review and action section this evening is the designation of criteria for and designation of District Title I school-wide sites.
Good evening, Board. As you know, we have discussed a decline and a change in our demographics with regard to socioeconomically disadvantaged students and those numbers in our classrooms. As a result, our currently designated Title I schools of Castro and Therakoff have been impacted, particularly Therakoff, and Therakoff has fallen below the previously approved board criteria of 65% or more students free and reduced. At this time, we are proposing that you change the criteria designation to 55% or more, which will allow us to honor the turnaround efforts that we committed to for both Castro and Therakoff for this coming year. In addition to the 55% or more free and reduced designation, we are asking tonight that you redesignate Castro and Therakoff as our Title I school-wide schools.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions, trustees? Members of the public wishing to comment on this item,
I have a comment.
please.
So I had brought up earlier in my questions to the board or to the superintendent about this agenda item. When I look at the numbers, 65% for me is a little bit too high. I look at the 49% at Crittenden Middle School, and I had suggested what we could do with that, if we can lower it to 49 so that we could also include Crittenden. And the reason's pretty specific. The way I look at it, 49 is still a high percentage. And that's our last shot to help the kids out. I understand the value of being able to help out the two designated Title I schools that we have now, but in the future, I'd like to see if we can consider including Crittenden, because again, it's our last opportunity to try and make some difference. And I think we can use the money one way or another to try and make that difference happen. so that hopefully that makes a difference and they move on to the high school district a little bit better prepared. I wouldn't like to think that we are just saying, even though you're at middle school and it's 49%, tough luck, you're on your own. You know, I don't feel comfortable with that. So I just bring that out as food for thought so that we can think about it possibly in the future.
Yeah, and can I make a
Please.
comment now? I appreciate you bringing that up. And Ms. Smith, I appreciate the response that you, the written response that you gave to that. And it was my understanding, just like you were alluding to, Trustee Gutierrez, that you will look into revising that designation for funding next year. So is that correct?
That is correct. We do have an opportunity, as stated to the board through the question and answer process, when the apportionments are confirmed. That's usually about October. So we may have an opportunity at that time. In the interim, I will do some research on how that is to be done to include, and your points are well noted.
But my understanding was from reading the comments that were prepared, the written comments, that there's a fixed pot of money. And so if we were to reallocate it, it would just be spread more thinly. If we have a new school that's designated, we don't get more money, right?
Correct. You have to use the same money that you have. So that's why that opportunity in October, should there be an increase, and then looking forward for the following year as possibilities. But we have made a financial commitment to both Therakoff and Castro, and the budgets are planned for this year.
Okay.
Also, in the event something like this were to pan out, wouldn't that really, if we were to include Crittenden, given those much higher population that we would be serving, adding that, I'm not sure how many students we would be serving there, but it's probably doubles the amount, I'm guessing. You're really doing a lot less per student.
Yes, and that would make everything a little bit more thinly. What we receive is determined by census reports.
Right.
And our area. We approved those mappings a year prior. Ms. Bauer and I went over those reports, and they kind of designate that amount. And those apportionments are designed at and decided at the state level once they are given the federal monies.
So that's why it's so important to just try and think about it ahead of time so that we can find out where can, depending on the volume of money that you get, the amount, then you can think about how you can best use that at a middle school. You can spread yourself thin all you want, but the bottom line is, I think the point's pretty simple. As long as we can try and do something to help the kids out in middle school, because 49% is still too high, we should try and do something about it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, and the money gets spent or can be spent in a very targeted way on the students who need it.
So what month would this need to come back in order for us to change the number to the one that Trustee Gutierrez recommends prior to the budget process beginning? What month would that happen?
I think I would have to collaborate with Dr. Clark on that as far as the month, but I know we receive apportionments at the end of September, beginning of October. If there is an opportunity to do that at this time, this year, we'll bring it immediately.
Oh, sure, but for next year.
But for next year, that would be around March.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
I see what you're saying.
should we plan on bringing this back in March or February or March to?
February or March is when the consolidated application comes around. You assist with approving it after we designate schools and we apply for the funding.
Okay.
And that's for next year.
Yes.
Yes, because for this year, it's a little too late.
And at that point, we could maybe decide to make it 49% or 40% if we wanted. And it would
Absolutely.
be early enough for everything. Right.
Absolutely.
Don't forget.
Yeah, that was
Thank
my
you.
bad on my
Don't
end.
forget.
I missed that totally.
Okay. Any further comment or questions, trustees? Can I have a motion to approve the designation of criteria for and designation of Title I school-wide sites for this year?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now motion made by trustee Wheeler and seconded by trustee Caldonato. The designation of criteria for and designation of district Title I school-wide sites was unanimously approved. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and we appreciate the rigorous conversation.
Can I make a comment here, Board President Blakely? I'd like to, for people watching at home, I'd like to provide a little bit of an explanation for why there's so many very short action items at this meeting, that this is kind of an end of the summer, let's get all these things done for the start of the school year, but in the rest of our board meetings throughout the rest of the year, typically the action items will either be culmination of agenda items that we have already discussed at a meeting before that, or there'll be, lengthier discussion time. So this is a very unusual agenda item here.
Yeah, but from time to time, we have these sort of housekeeping meetings and we just need
Yes,
to clean that up.
That's right.
And so,
That's right.
onward. It's the fall cleaning.
Yeah.
So the next portion of our meeting is for review and discussion with updates for information. And the first one is the summer programs 2018 update. And I believe Ms. Smith and Ms. Lundberg are presenting on this.
It was the best summer.
Well, good evening, board, staff, and guests. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Usually I don't have too much problem with that, but I want to make sure you hear me. We laugh because both Ms. Smith and I are long on words. So we'll try really hard not to be like that today. So I want to first move to, let's see if this little guy will work for me. There we go. First, want to talk about summer school in regards to how it matches up with our strategic plan. So if you look at strategic strategy 2.1, this is where we're talking about implementing consistent and equitable instruction. And our action item under this one, providing a high quality extended learning opportunity, is where summer school really fits in. So we just want to make sure you understand that we are aligning with our strategic goal here. And now I just want to review with you all of the programs that we took on this year. Okay, so first slide here talks about our district summer school program. We had 12 classes, 12 teachers from grades 1st to 6th. And we were working with language and literacy and through the science content. And then we had A-Learn and Elevate. Those were both math focused, and they were for our middle school kids, incoming 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then we had our extended school year. This is for our students with individual education plans to continue their learning through the summer. And we also had our achievement for the language learners, and this was for our middle school kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th, that are long-term ELs. And then Castro and Therakoff had their second run of Olympico summer school program with their selected children. And Stretch to Kindergarten, that was done right here at Graham. We had 3 classes of that. Those are for families that qualified for low income and were able to have a little boost before they come into kindergarten. Along with that, we also had a YMCA program for incoming 1st and 2nd graders from Castro and Therakoff. We also partnered with a couple outside organizations that first went off Valdez, and that was another math-based program that we partnered with, and was a 6-week program. And then we had Peninsula Bridge, which was an enrichment program that focused with our children, and we bussed them back and forth. And The View, for the last couple of years, we've worked with The View. After our summer school is over and after the days of our summer school is over, the middle school children, 6th, 7th, and 8th, were welcome to come over there and enjoy their afternoons over there. So those were all the programs that we had. So let's just take a little look at enrollment. So our total enrollment for summer school, 941. We feel very proud about that. Last year was 938, so we retained and maintained and even grew just slightly with the number of kids that we supported over the summer. We weren't sure we were going to be able to do it because we were almost all at Crittenden, so that was fun. We had a school full of kids learning, and it was a great opportunity. I'm going to now turn it over to Ms. Smith, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what the district program was like.
As we take a closer look at the language and literacy through science program, we're really excited about how we attempted to address closing those achievement gaps while taking risks and also confirming what we thought we knew about best practices with language. Our priority enrollment was given to English language learners not meeting standard on English language arts benchmarks, and also as they demonstrated on LPAC assessments as well. You've already listened to Cindy say we've had the 12 classes, but we also want to note that there were ample opportunities for teacher professional development daily between 1 to 2. And we also added this year 2 days prior to the start of the program of full professional learning and engagement with our staff and teachers to make sure that they felt very comfortable with the curriculum and the new strategies that we wanted to try out this year. One of the things we attempted to do was just to make sure that all of our stakeholders benefited from the program. So that included our students, teachers, and the families involved in the summer. For our students, we were really excited to support and bolster their literacy skills through daily guided reading, reading opportunities, immersing them in science content, which is engaging and exciting. That was something new and different, where in the past we had focused on English language arts and or math. So this year, all of the learning went through science. We also increased and embedded hands-on science experiments and activities, outdoor learning and partnering, and again, with the focus of language. And that was produced primarily through writing and spoken word of the children. What our teachers gained, or what we sought to provide them with, was an opportunity to immerse themselves in the next generation science standards. It was a nice lab setting. It was comfortable, low pressure for them to get more familiar with those science standards that we know we are moving towards implementation. It was also an opportunity to hone those skills and those SIOP strategies from our SIOP Year 1 implementation throughout the year to support our English learners, and more importantly, to take it to the next level for our younger learners to add additional language acquisition strategies to the SIOP framework. We were really excited about vocabulary and writing protocols, which you'll see some of the production of student work as a result of that. And last but not least, we're hoping our families did benefit from a hands-on Dr. Seuss Science Night. I want to thank some of you, board members, and maybe even some people here in the audience. We had some principals volunteer to read a favorite Dr. Seuss book. And then in the evening, there were science hands-on activities aligned to those texts. So it was just a really fun way to engage everyone through the content of science. Speaking of which, we also added for our families, students, and staff a culminating science fair and an open house, which we had not yet done in our summer school as well. And it was a great opportunity for families to walk away with evidence of student work in those 19 days that we had our children. Now we'll talk a bit about student data.
Okay, so the way we did this is each classroom had 2 science units that they went through. And the data that we collected was a pre and a post assessment for each of the units. And the pre and the post assessment was done both for content understanding and also for writing, so building their writing skills. So this we knew was going to show us evidence of all the things we were trying to target with the language and the literacy. So that's how we did it. Now let's just take a look at a couple of samples. So these samples were typed up, but they are verbatim what the kids were writing. So if you look at this first one, this is a 2nd grade student. Looks like the post date moved to the side. So the pre was on June 21st and the post was on June 29th. So in 8 days, this student started off writing with a very basic sentence structures. And then by the end, you can see that they had learned structures in their writing. They're using content-specific words, and they really understood the science that they had learned there. So it's a really beautiful piece of looking at a pre and a post. I'm going to show you one more. This is 6th grade. Same thing, 8 days from the 21st to the 29th of June. Started off with the pre, what can you tell us about inside living things? And we have a couple of sentences there, and then the right side is the post. Again, you can see sentence structure. You can see content words being used, so good, rich vocabulary, and a deep understanding of what they were learning. So it's really exciting to see something like that in the it wasn't even 19 days, 8 days that they were on that unit. So we also surveyed the teachers because we wanted to get feedback from them as well. And so we asked the teachers, well, what did you like and what would you like to see changed? So the biggest thing that we did differently this year was we had 2 days of professional development before they started summer school. And they all really appreciated that. They thought it was a really great way to set them up for the summer school program. And within that, the staff of us that did the training, we modeled all of the strategies that we expected them to use for the summer school program. So they got to really see what they were expected to do, and made it more hands-on and tangible for them to do it. And the two that they really liked the most was the writing protocol and the vocabulary protocol. And it was very evident in the classrooms. You could see that they had vocabulary cards and they were using them all over the place. So it was really neat to see. And the teachers really, really appreciated doing that and seeing the power of it. Deltas, we did a science project. That was one of the things we did. And to streamline things, we gave them the question that the kids were going to grapple with, but they really wanted to be more a part of it. So in the future, we will include them in the process of coming up with the question that they're going to do their design thinking around, and that will really help that part of it. They wanted to just be more of a part of it. And then, of course, some of them commented about having yard duty, but that's always an issue, right? Okay, so another slide here, just what did we learn about this process? What did we learn, and what can we confirm? And one of the biggest things that we learned is what we believe is that they got to live what we know. So hands-on is always a great way to learn. So we had a lot of hands-on things going on, and we saw the evidence of learning happening there. Vocabulary improves writing and improves speech. So helping them build those vocabulary was really, really powerful to see. But don't take it from us. I got a little video for you. I want you to see what the teachers and the students and parents are saying about us, about summer school. All right, so hopefully if I push something, this is going to work, right, guys? Kathy, you have to play this? Is that you?
Is it in the lower left-hand corner? Oh, no. What's it? Here we go.
Oh, now we don't have any sound. Did we mute the sound over there? No. Oh, this is such a beautiful video.
Will it be loaded up on the district's website?
It will be. Well, if you heard what was going on here, the kids were talking about how they played these games, and in him telling us about how to play the games, he's talking about parasites and all these different vocabulary that he's learned. And it's really, the kids are thrilled. This is what this kid says right here. He's talking about playing. It's like a fish, what is it? Minnows and whatever. A game that's normally played with other things was played with some science content-based things. It was really neat. And then this other little girl with the two little ponytails, she talks about how she learned presentation skills and how you have to stand up and face the audience and answer questions. And it was just like, whoa, it's really powerful. So please, 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 if we can't see it now, please take a moment to watch it. It's actually it's really nice. Really great to see it. Coming from the mouth of babes. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Smith, and she's going to wrap us up here.
So as illustrated by the video, we had many successes, right? And with successes came some learnings, and then we'll talk about some next steps as we wrap up this sharing and update with you tonight. Our overall successes, there's a little bit of a delay. Well, let me move the slide. The next one.
We have it in front of us.
Oh, you do? Okay. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Among our overall successes, we definitely wanted to highlight that this was risky, right? We hadn't done science before in the summer. And also our assessments statewide are in math and English language arts, right? So ideally, that's what we should probably focus in on. But we learned that a new content area raised the level of engagement of the staff, the administration, the students and the families, and that learning about math and ELA and language, this was a good place to try and do that. So we were really excited about that as a success and changing content. The other piece was the culminating science project that, there was an end goal. We were reaching a target together as an entire program. And it was just exciting to see the students wanting to showcase what they had learned, speaking about that, some of them for the very first time, the little ones, the big ones. And then the parents really knowing what was happening in summer school and walking away with something tangible. Of course, with successes, we have challenges and opportunities for learning, and you hope that always happens. For us, it was facilities. As you heard from Cindy Lundberg, we had everybody in one place. And Kathy Bauer, and we worked it out with Dr. Clark of, rooms and programs, but we did that. And we hope to address that challenge next year, just for the simple fact that our construction timeline will be in a very different place. And we might not have to squish everyone in one location, and that will help us. One other piece too of highlight would be transportation. We had almost 500 kiddos on buses, corner stops of California, principals calling us every morning, making sure their families, got to summer programming, checking in on them. And when we looked at the regional concentration of who we bus more, it was that Castro area. So a decision has been made by Ed Services to move towards thinking about relocating summer school to the area of where we bus students from. There'll be fewer students, and maybe Miss Lambert can sleep 20 minutes later in the summertime and not call us to make sure they're all there. Next steps, we want to continue to refine and revise what we've learned about language and literacy through science. More importantly, I think we call this the MVWSD cohort of 12. We have 12 teachers. We have 12 champions sitting in classrooms who themselves, when you see the video, believe in what they learned. They learned deeply. They received modeling, and they can't wait. Their principals have already supported their work in classrooms of what they will continue to implement, but more importantly, share with their colleagues at the site, and also share district-wide when we have our full district-wide PD. So we're really excited about building these strategies into the SIOP framework that already exists. And it's a really nice complement where we can focus on that K-3 strategic plan item very deeply. And last but not least, hiring teachers who wants to work in the summer, although Cindy Lundberg and Arlene Siam are amazing, and the principals, it is downtime, right? So how do we hire and retain? And we're thinking we're going to start in December instead of March or April. Since teachers liked that front loading, it'll give us more opportunity to bring them on board. And that concludes our summer overview for this evening. We thank you for your time. And are there any questions?
Steve?
So this question is from Ms. Lundberg. Clarification on the pre and post writing samples. I thought you said that it was the same student that was shown in the pre-test and the post-test. I'll comment, it seems like incredible progress, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it is amazing to look at.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and another comment I have, you can see it, but I want to point it out. The students are wearing lab coats in these pictures, and I've seen this technique used before, and it's very powerful to students that it makes them feel like they are scientists.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see you using that. It costs a little bit of money to buy lab coats, but very effective.
Yeah. Yeah. The kids felt like scientists. It was great. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Does our resident scientist have?
I'm not really along that line, but I'm curious. I know we had the one site, and so you're calling the 12 champions had to work there, and I really enjoyed reading through the survey responses, and I was not knowing at the time or realizing, I guess, connecting that they were all in one space together, and that these survey results, there were very consistent messages across all the very detailed narratives on what could be improved, what worked well, and what didn't. And I'm curious, I'm wondering to see as this moves forward, if you move it to different sites, how that feedback might change and how much having them together help create like the summer teaching team, and that the site actually mattered.
Well, the district, this program right here would stay together. We wouldn't have it at
perfect.
separate sites. It would
Okay.
be like one of the other programs would go to another site or something like that. But
Okay.
this district program would stay together.
Okay, I didn't understand that. so
Yeah,
thank-
I'm glad you asked. Thanks.
So kind of a question, kind of a comment.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Any other comments, trustees?
Yeah, Edwin, I just wanted to thank Ms. Smith for the presentation and Ms. Lundberg for the presentation and your years of service.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Summer 2018 Capital Projects Program. Dr. Clark.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. So I'm here to give a short update of how we spent our summer vacation working in the school district in terms of capital projects. So I'm going to fly through some of the some photos and give you some update on how we the projects that we completed or are in progress. So just a reminder, our strategic plan, Goal 5, resource stewardship. One of our goals is that we will maintain facilities in good repair. Castro Mistral in preschool. So if you look at the project Castro itself, I think we all attended the dedication for Castro last week for the new school construction. Mistral itself, a new frontage, library conversion of the 2 flex rooms. Kindergarten complex foundations are in. Actually, the fence is up if you see where the kindergarten classrooms are going to be. Castro Mistral itself is a shared, their MUR is open, and they also have a shared library and a shared yard. And eventually they'll have a shared playfield when the sod goes in and wait 60 to 90 days for it to root. And then preschool itself got a new playground surface. So photo of the dedication for Castro. You see the new kindergarten yard for Castro itself. Mistral, that is actually a little older photo that's the kindergarten complex where the 3 classrooms are. And on the left and on the right, you see their new drop-off lane. One of the major changes was the frontage for the Mistral side on Escuela, where now there is a long, straight drop-off lane, which will go in front of the school, and you can see the new lane. And the preschool got a soft surface. They had decomposed granite before, DG, and when it was wet, it got muddy and gross. Now they actually have a soft surface for the entire yard, and they're thrilled. When you go to Buffalo Flandels, they essentially had the same project. The MUR is completed at all schools. We modernized all the permanent rooms, remodeled the administration building, started the conversion of the old MUR into the new library and the special education classrooms, 2 special day class, and also the resource specialist program. So there's 3 rooms on the opposite side of the library. And we also did the full expansion of the 3rd kindergarten class. So for Bub, these are similar photos for all 3. Those are the new classrooms on the left. In the upper right is the brand new MUR for all 3 schools. Huff, there's the MUR. All 3 look identical on the left, and on the right, essentially they're all in the same kind of status or state for their conversion of their old MUR to the library. Pretty much the walls are gone, the inside's been gutted out completely, and you just see the frame. And Landals, this is a picture of the brand new kindergarten class at Landals. All 3 are similar. But this one actually I nabbed the day before school started, and she had already set up her room and it looked like that. So it was a pretty nice kindergarten classroom. Montaloma remodeled the administration building and staff room building. They got a new roof, yay. The raised canopies over the walkways and the expanded bus drive aisle, which was from a previous last year's project. So what you see on the right is the new paint for the exterior paint around the campus. And then on the left is the raised canopies. It is made, if you've been on campus since they're completed, it has made a complete difference to that campus. When you used to walk through the canopies, they would drop back down in a V. And I'm 6'2", but I would feel like I needed to kind of shrink down. Now they're elevated to match the building. It's quite open and airy, so it's quite nice. Stevenson, new school construction. They got a new building, new kindergarten, new administration building, 15 classrooms plus the 3 flex rooms. Plus they have the 3 kindergarten classrooms are in the kindergarten wing. The dedication was last week as well. 2 weeks.
Last week.
Last week. Thanks.
Thursday.
And then there's a photo of the kindergarten class. When I was rounding from the yard, coming off the main yard, the big yard towards the kindergarten building, a parent was walking out, rounded the corner by that wing, where the garden's going to be. And he remarked, "This place is huge." So that was kind of nice. Therakoff, that text is incorrect. My apologies. Therakoff matches we remodeled their administration building. We remodeled all of their permanent classrooms, and they also got an exterior paint job, as did all the other schools. So there's the classroom at Therakoff. Looks very similar to the other schools. We have a standard classroom in the district. There's some nuances in each class and each school. There might be a wall or electrical box or panel or something in the way, but they look very similar. The big change for Therakoff is we bumped out. They had an overhang, kind of a portico entry. We actually filled that in and made that part of the office and made it quite an expansion. Vargas, moving forward over the summer, we did started doing the site work with the underground piping. You cannot make it out very well in the photo, but if you actually see it in the foreground on the left is actually the pad for the MUR. And then in the background, you can see some of the yellow bits and pieces, which are actually workers who are installing the foundation for the administration building. And you can see the pipe that's running through the middle of the campus. So they're well underway. The district office, the demolition of the district office occurred right before school. Our goal was to get it out and completely removed before school started at Stevenson because it looks pretty big on a site plan, but if you're out there, the kindergarten classroom was about 20 feet from the existing district office. So we wanted it gone, and it's completely gone before school started, which was great. And then some rough amounts for the summer. We modernized over 78,000 square feet of classrooms, 13,000 cubic yards of soil, 50,000 square feet of asphalt, and then we pulled, according to Todd Lee, miles and miles of data cable, which is very true. This year, we approximate, or essentially the approximate cost or amount of money we spent this summer totaled about $56 million. Last year, it was 29. So it was a very busy summer. For moving on, for the 18-19 school year, Castro Mistral, Castro still has 3 flex rooms going into the very back of their campus, which is expected to be installed this fall. And they'll be ready to go in December 18, probably January 19, they can move in. The Mistral kindergarten wing, almost the exact same schedule. They're supposed to be installed this fall and ready for occupancy over the break. I've already talked to Ms. Miller at Mistral, and their goal is that the 3 kindergarten classes will move into the kindergarten wing over the December break, provided they are completely done. Huffbub and Landals, the MUR conversion to the library and special ed rooms, that will continue on until December of 18. It should be early December. For right now, my guess is that the librarians will probably love to go actually into a library of 3,000 square feet versus a 960 square foot portable, but that will be up to the site's decision to move. Stevenson's MUR continues on till January of 19 for completion. Therakoff's MUR with some delay at DSA. At least we're out now, which is great, but that completion is not now looking forward to until March of 19. So it's definitely delayed. Vargas, we're still on track for opening in next summer of 19 for kids in August. District office, new construction, a little delay with DSA for us as well. So now we're looking at an occupancy of March of 19 for the district office where we'll move in. And that's it.
Will our board meetings move over to the district office? Will the boardroom be March of 19?
Yes.
Will it be heated?
Will be. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure we'll have the budget for that.
Okay.
Yes.
The money will be gone by then.
Any members of the public wishing to comment on this item?
I have questions.
I was just tossing it out to them first. Please go.
So, Dr. Clark, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, and I have to ask. But I've heard a lot of parents from Castro and Mistral ask me, is that the playground? Is that it? Or are we going to have a bigger playground? Because the campus had 2 big playground structures. And now when you look at the basketball court right next to it, there's a small little playground. So they're wondering, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, that's going to be an issue for them, just FYI.
The campus is sharing 2 schools.
Mhm.
It's a small site.
I get it.
Right.
I get it. But what we had before, or what they had before, was very different, and it was still the same space. And so they're noticing that when you look at that little area of a playground and you're sharing it with 2 schools, that's basically, when you look at it, and I don't know if you saw it, but when you look at the play structure, that's not for a 4th or a 5th grader. That looks more like for a 1st or a 2nd grader. Not a
Actually, that
4th or-
play structure is for 5 to 12-year-olds.
Well, I'm just commenting on what I've heard the parents say.
And I'm telling you what we installed.
Right.
Right.
And so as I'm
Right.
talking to the board,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to explain to you all that that's the main concern the parents have, because when they've had their 4th and 5th graders play there, They don't really have as much room or space to be able to navigate. And when you look at that to what they had before, there's a significant difference.
May I point out, Castro Mistral did not have an 8,500 square foot MUR, and it did not have a 3,000 square foot library.
Oh,
So
I
I'm telling you,
understand.
there's not as much space on that campus now as there was
No,
before.
I get you. I don't
So-
want you to get defensive.
I'm not defensive. I'm
criticizing
just
it.
making sure the
I'm
public
just saying
realizes that
in-
campus
in
is not the
general,
same.
Right. And all I'm
Right.
saying is, and I have the right to say this with all due respect, is to try and let the district know and the team that this is what the parents will be talking about, so that you all and we all can act as a team and be able to respond back accordingly.
Is the playground at the Castro Mistral shared campus comparable to the playgrounds at the other campuses for the other elementary schools?
No, it's
No.
not, because the other schools are larger. You have one school on a much larger size of property. Also, we haven't installed new play structure. Stevenson is a great example.
I meant the
that-
play structure piece of it.
Right. Stevenson has a kindergarten yard, and then the new same structure was installed for Stevenson as it was for Castro. But you have one Stevenson playing on one play structure versus you have Castro Mistral sharing one play structure.
Okay.
So I'd like to follow up on that, that grass lawn that, is the park, like the neighborhood park on Latham. Is that going to be available at some point in time, or is that being covered over with building?
You mean our field?
Yeah, the field.
Yeah, that right now it's dirt, and that's the sod. That's where the temporary housing was. And that sod will be laid hopefully soon. And then 60 to 90 days it'll root, and then the fence will come down, and then the field will actually come back. Right.
That will be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, trustees?
Yeah, this is remarkable. I mean, I love that you put up the numbers for everything. I don't know how you guys accomplished all this. It seems like a miracle, really. And on time.
Yeah.
So I just like
For
to
the-
acknowledge that. I mean,
Yeah.
Thanks.
when, we went to Huff for the first day, I was like, it's there, and we opened it, and you guys really stayed on track with things. So I
Right.
think that needs to be acknowledged. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the important thing that I think people forget. When we look at it as a board and we were pushing for these dishes to happen, they actually happened because we worked together as a team. And so when Dr. Clark would bring up his suggestions with everyone else, with the construction companies, of how these things will look like to the communities and then to the board for final approval, I like that we all agreed on that so that we can be able to have what we have now for the students and for the teachers and for the parents and for the community. But I think that's a good example of how when you work as a team, you may have your differences. It doesn't really matter. In the end is how and what you achieve in the end. And for what results you get, you're going to get that much more in return inside of yourself, obviously, and as a team and as a district. And I think that now, to be honest with you, we're more on a better track to be able to actually reflect what we can offer to the community and what they expect of us. So I'm hoping this is the first step, and I hope we don't lose sight of that and we just keep pushing forward.
I know we're all looking forward to the fall of 2019 when the punch list work is done and everything's up, but we have made tremendous progress. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the
Dr.
next,
Clark.
oh, I'm sorry.
One more, I just thought of another question. Based on your experience the last few years with these projects, can you foresee any risks to the Vargas August delivery date? Because if it doesn't get open by that month, we got a problem. A bigger
And-
problem than usual.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And the nice thing with Vargas is there was a little float in the schedule. And one of the original schedules that we had was the campus would be done in April. The field wouldn't be done, of course, because the special ed preschool is still there. And so they can't do the field work until they move out. And so one of the original schedules was April. It's now gone to May, and now it's headed towards June. So it's still opening in June, is still a couple months before August, which is good. One of the only thing is the holdup. The MUR has DSA approval. All the single-story buildings have DSA approval. So Rodan is already starting on all that work, which is great. The only holdup right now for DSA is the two-story building. And the concern that we have is that it takes longer to build a two-story building for modular construction itself, and then it takes longer to actually install a two-story building. And the concern is going to be, it may be that two-story building may be right in the summer with everything else. Our goal was to get done early. So one, you have to go back up to where the district office was finished on time to where the preschool could actually move over in June into their new home. We have to move out of the temp housing for the preschool to be done on Montecito. Then Bart Slater could actually move into the Montecito new preschool, and then we could actually tear down the old Slater and build a field. Well, we want the school done, so the new principal, secretary, custodian get in, start open stuff up, check lights. That way there aren't any problems. Those of you who are at the schools that had a lot of construction this summer, we have some kinks. You know, this toilet didn't work, this light switch didn't work, and so we'd like to work out all those bugs in that May-June period. We're still on track. We're still there. The concern we have right now is the second-story building. It may be in the summer, but it's still very possible.
How many classrooms are in the second-story building?
Thanks for asking.
Is it 10?
Lots of them.
There's not lots
No?
because we have the kindergarten has 3, and then I think the single story has 3, so that's 6. So that gives you about 12. I think there's 6 over 6, or maybe 5 over 6, or 7 over 5 in the 2-story building, because there's a couple of flex rooms and the toilet rooms are there as well. So it definitely half of the school, I would say, is in that 2-story building.
And is there any way to light a fire under DSA or write our legislators or anything like that to get them to move a little more quickly?
I threatened the press when we were doing Mistral Phase 4. I threatened the press. The fact that they had the project for a month, lost a document, didn't tell us they lost a document, and then when they finally told us they lost it, they didn't admit to it, but then they finally admitted that they lost it, and we had to resubmit. We lost 2 months from Mistral Phase 4 from January to February. They didn't, honestly, it didn't seem to care. They didn't seem to be concerned. They have a backlog. They have a significant amount of power over school construction in the state of California. It's them. They are our licensing agency.
They have a monopoly over this business, do they not?
They do.
Yeah.
They're the ones. You have to go to DSA and they have to approve so you get in the queue. They have a new system, but it's supposed to streamline the process for approval, but it doesn't really, not yet from what we've seen. You get a date and you have to wait 6 weeks for an appointment. And the only thing it did was instead of waiting for an appointment, it was the old days where you just submitted and it was in the bin and then you got an appointment when they were done with it. So all they did was add another step to make you think that you've got an appointment, but you really don't. And then, of course, they're so busy, they're moving stuff around. For example, the district office, Vargas district office. This is today's conversation with our contractor, with the architect. The district office project was sent to San Diego DSA office for the structural review. And the architects are actually flying down to San Diego the first week of September for the meeting. If they did not go down to the San Diego office and it came back to the Oakland office, it could have added another month to the project just because it came back to Oakland, which is where we submitted that's our region. That's where the office where we submit our documents. But because they sent it out, we're actually going to go to them. So there's a concern. I'm always worried about everything, but Vargas should still be okay.
Yeah. Well, thank
Yes.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move right along here. The next item on the agenda is the Seamless Summer 2018 Food Program. Ms. Austin.
Good evening. I want to tell you a little bit about our summer this year. Our Seamless Summer Meal Program 2018. Our goal was to support the at-risk populations by increasing breakfast, extended summer meal program to the community that basically didn't have access to meals. Some of the program highlights. The district provided a breakfast and lunch to the students who attended the district summer school program, and it was open to all children in the community. Crittenden Middle School, we served from June 4th to August 10th. So basically, we were only closed to the public for 5 days. So we had 5 days after the end of the summer to get ready for the school year. Crittenden breakfast, we did a total of 14,330 meals. Lunch, we did a total of 13,855 meals. And I've never seen so many kids go through the line at one time. It was a lot of kids. Some breakfasts, we did 800 kids in 30 minutes. Some lunches, we did 800 kids in 30 minutes. We did it. This is a sample of some of the foods that we served in our salad bar. And our fruits and vegetables this summer, we actually purchased directly from the farmers. So it was local and organic.
little pricey, but I think it was worth it because kids that never had food like this, they had it now. So a lot of our younger kids that aren't used to middle school had middle school meals, and they can't wait to get to the 6th grade. Now there's a video. I think it might play.
No volume yet.
These are some of the children going through the line. That's myself talking about it takes a basically all of us to feed the community. And this summer, we noticed the children were very hungry. Generally, we have food left over at the end of the day, just a little bit. This year, we had nothing left, and the kids are coming back for seconds. That's a parent helping her child. That's one of the parents talking about how much he enjoyed the program and how much it was needed. That's one of our trucks that went out to the parks this summer.
Yeah.
And the parks were actually double busy this year. So what we did last year, we doubled this year. That's one of the preschool teachers. We had a preschool that was across the street that came and ate every day. So we actually started them young. We get them from 18 months to 5. And by the second week in the program, they were trained. They knew how to take their tray and get their fruit and get their milk. And they also ate everything on their tray. So sorry about that, no sound. The program highlights: we partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank for material and equipment support. Santa Clara County Department of Public Health and Nutrition Education conducted 4 nutrition training for the students and the community during July, and there'll be a picture of it on the next slide. They basically did nutrition education on water, why you need to play sports, how you need to get enough sleep at night, what a healthy meal is. And they said they had the best turnout that they've ever had. They actually reached and documented over 300 students every single Friday. So we also had tastings. We had tastings of fruited waters. Went over very well. It was a good partnership. We had several programs. We did Park and Rec. Breakfast and lunch for them was 16,626 meals. We did the Stanford Summer Program. We gave them lunch. We did 2,900 meals. This slide shows our lunch cart, which was provided to us by Second Harvest Food Bank. They want to increase participation in breakfast meals, after school at risk meals, and summer meals. So they were a great partner for us. We actually got 4 food carts. And the slide next to it shows the public health department. And they had approximately a staff of 4 that came out every single Friday. So it was a really good partnership. Seamless Summer 2018. New this year, we did community housing feeding. Many of you don't know that our parameters of where we could feed changed this year. So they cut our parameters down from 4 to just 1. And this year we found there's pockets of poverty in Mountain View is not located in one area. So we're going to acquire a food truck and do some try and find some funding because it won't be reimbursed by the government, and see if we can go out and feed these communities that don't have, that are out in the further reaches of our city. The district served lunch at 3 sites. We did Latham Housing Complex, where we did 1,341 meals to the children that lived in the complex. Rengsdorf Park, we did 5,281 meals. And Castro Park, we did 3,363 meals. The district was unable to use the library site this year due to federal restrictions in place with a decreasing number of free and reduced lunch students in Mountain View Eastman School District, reducing the number of children served this summer. So from last summer to this summer, we only served 2,000 less students. Program totals: breakfast, 23,079 meals; lunch, 34,616 meals, for a total count, 57,696 meals served to our children. Thank you.
It's impressive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions? Any questions about next summer?
So, Ms. Austin, I recall last year you made a presentation about the successful program at Challenge Team. Are you going to be making a similar presentation this year?
I haven't been asked, but if they ask me, I will.
Well, would it be worthwhile for us to reach out to the person in charge of Challenge Team? Would you be in favor of us doing that, to ask if?
I'm always available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, trustees or members of the community? Thank you very much. We are so lucky to have you
Thank
in
you.
our district. Okay, any board updates that were not or cannot be submitted electronically to Ms. Lilga?
I sent mine in. I'm proud.
Wow.
Okay.
As did I.
Nicely done.
Items for future agendas? Ellen?
Yeah, I'd be interested in a presentation or a report on what we offer in fine arts in our school district. I hear different things from different parents. So what are we currently doing in our schools? Using our budget, using MVEF, using parcel tax.
Didn't we do something like this not too long ago, like last spring? I thought we had one. We talked.
I'm hearing different things from different people this year, worried about fine arts offerings. So I'd like to know what we're actually doing.
Okay.
Could we get that as a written report?
Well, that's what I said, either a presentation
Oh.
or a
Oh,
report.
good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd prefer that to be written.
I think just because it's kind of on the heels. I mean, we did one, I want to say April. So, but it is good information and things change. So thank you. Any other topics?
Yeah, I was got the email about the bus schedule this year and how and I've never clicked on it, and I noticed that for the full school year it costs $750 to ride the school bus. So I just would kind of like some kind of information or report on how many students use it, where are they coming from, and what the cost of the program is. Because to me, that's a fairly hefty price tag for families. And my assumption or guess is that the people using it might not have that much of expendable income to use on busing services. So it's just something I'd like to explore and see some more information on. It's a lot.
And I might add that for that $700, you can take a bus from our neighborhood that takes 1 hour to get to the school that it takes 5 minutes to drive to. So it's not a very good bus route.
Yeah, I don't know what the routes are. It
Yeah,
would just be neat to
check
see.
out the
like,
routes.
The previous comment on an earlier topic was there was clusters of people, and
Mhm,
I think even by knowing who and where they're coming from, we might illuminate that that's kind of a hefty price tag. But just to see the information and as an inquiry.
And I would like to comment that Superintendent Rudolph told us, kind of reminded us that once we fully implement the new neighborhood schools format, that
The
people
busing will
won't,
change.
people won't need, not very many people will need busing by our school district anymore because they will all be very close to their own neighborhood schools. So that's something that, it's evolving and we'll want to follow that.
I was just looking to see if that could be folded into one of the presentations that we already have set up, but okay.
Yeah.
So we
Thank
can,
you.
okay. If there are no further comments, the meeting is adjourned at 8:19. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this off.